Traditional with a twist is how today's artist describes her work. She transforms everyday scenes, illuminating them in a way that highlights their beauty and their transitory nature. Whether she is portraying people or places, she brings a deft touch and a vision of the wonder of the world. On this edition of Art Now, we'll look at the work of Barbara Curtis McDonnell.
Hi, welcome to Art Now, a program where we talk to artists whose work is part of our community. I'm Pat Sammann, and I'll be your host. Our guest today is Barbara Curtis McDonnell. She has an associate degree in fine arts from Bennett College, received a BA in art education and a BFA in painting from the University of New Mexico, and has done continuing graduate education in fine arts at the University of Illinois. She has received grants to create public art in San Francisco and Albuquerque, and her work has been exhibited in California, New Mexico, and throughout central Illinois. Today we're in Barbara's home studio. Barbara, thanks for having us today.
Nice to have you here.
Great. First question I have for you is, what made you want to become an artist?
I grew up in a home that had tons of art in it. My mother is a Juilliard graduate and has a great voice, but she's also just an artist, and she loved beauty around her. And my father loved collecting antiques, and they loved to travel. And so I grew up with an eclectic, luxurious home, and I had two brothers who are very artistic, and it just always made a lot of sense to me. I never could do math, and art is what I could do. I was pretty good, so I stuck with that.
Great. As a student, you spent your junior year in Provence, France. Tell us a little bit about how that affected your style.
Leo Marchut's knew Renoir's son. Leo was the director of the school art classes I took, and we studied in a very traditional French manner. Christo may have been at the Contemporary Museum of Art in Chicago, but he upset Leo a lot, because here we were in Aix and we were surrounded by Cézanne's countryside and the greatness of what was, and meanwhile what was going on was a very different thing. But I learned very strong basic art principles in France. Yeah. And I had great luck being there. So
great.
Yeah.
In the 70s, you were a painter in Albuquerque, New Mexico. What was the art scene like there?
I had great luck being in Albuquerque. New Mexico, of course, was the magnet for Georgia O'Keeffe, and she brought a lot of people who, from New York, that was a trend to go to the Southwest and Mexico for artists. And I got to know the man who was the director of the Taos Art Museum, and he was really good friends of Agnes Martin. And Barbara DeGenevieve was out there. She was the director of the photography at the Art Institute of Chicago. She just passed away. I feel very sad about that. And we began the art scene in the 70s in this country was developing, and we were putting art in public spaces, and we were getting grants. The NEA was a new thing, and I was able to get involved with that. And we had a lot of different art shows that were in Santa Fe, Taos, and Albuquerque, so that we had opportunities as students that I think, it was very exciting. And I think the art market's pretty saturated in a lot of ways now. But there were a lot of beginnings at that time. It was the tail end of the 20th century and the beginning of 21st century, and also the hippies. I really loved the hippie generation, and I was part of that. So, Yeah, Garrow and Tresian was there, and he'd been the head of Tamarind in L.A., and he'd come out to when they got the Tamarind going here in Albuquerque.
Mm-hmm.
He was there, and he was a professor that I had, a wonderful, good man. I had great instructors, and I was surrounded by really interesting people who'd come from the East Coast primarily to be in the Southwest. Yeah.
Sounds like a great time to
it
be
was.
there.
In fact, you have a professor, retired instructor professor here who, was part of that Taos Art Scene. But anyway, so yeah.
Okay, now in the 80s you moved to San Francisco with some fellow artists from New Mexico, and there you met Gordon Cook, who became your mentor. We're going to look at a few of the pieces that you did during that period.
That would be great.
Okay, this first one is Reed Basket.
I would say it was directly influenced by Gordon. He, like Magritte, he used the male hat as a symbol. Well, I would say this was more a basket is a female symbol, and that's pretty much it. And it has to do with space. It has to do with presence. His sense of other, like Magritte, the sense of other permeating a subject was really important to him, and that is a concept that's surreal in a way, and it's also in every important piece of art that I think people stay in people's consciousness.
Right. Okay, this next one is Bryant Street Apartment.
Right, that was across from my painting studio, and I really liked that because it reminded me of a New Yorker cover or something that I would have seen in the New Yorker magazine. It has a good sense of humor, and it also has a sense of presence, and Gordon thought that was a great picture, so and I've always kept it.
Okay, this is Giotto's Crossing.
Giotto's Crossing was an important piece for me because it was in a all California show in Laguna Beach. Henry Hawkins was the curator for that show, and he was also the director of the Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco. So I was thrilled when this was included. This was a sense that I had come back when I came to San Francisco from New Mexico. I was driven, and I had met someone who was really into figurative art, and I had developed that, and I was using the sense of pattern also, and the 14th century concept of space, and I was surrounded by water in San Francisco, and in some respects it was overwhelming. It was like San Francisco is this little island surrounded by this intense, gorgeous seascape. So anyway, that's why I did that, and it's an important piece for me, and I saved it somehow. So anyway.
Okay, these next works we're going to look at are portraits. This one is Prisma Portrait.
She was a model for me in Laguna Beach. I had left San Francisco, and I was taking a little class, and this woman had gone through something pretty monumental for her, and I was able to capture that.
Yes.
And I really liked the Prismacolor. It was so fine as compared to oil paints and a thick brush, and I found that I could do really fine work, and that was nice for me.
Yeah. This next one is Best Friends.
Mary came out to visit. We'd been in high school together. I don't know that we were best friends, but I really liked the forms that I was able to see in the landscape and using that in the figures. And again, it's really fine skilled work, and it shows the landscape. I really stick with that landscape and figures. It's hard for me to break from that.
Okay.
I like it, I guess.
Yeah, I like this piece very much.
Yeah.
Okay, in the late 1980s, you returned to your hometown of Danville, and you re-met your husband Mike. I guess you had actually been in nursery school together.
That's correct. We were. Mike always liked me. He has funny stories about our meeting. But yeah, when I came back to Danville in the late, I was in like 38, I guess, or something, 37, and Mike got a job in Springfield, Illinois with the Secretary of State, and I thought I should paint him a football picture. So I found this this really nice book that he had, and it's called The Pro Football Experience, and they're photographs, I think, from the 70s, and it shows a fellow from the Falcon defense intercepting a ball.
Yeah.
But Mike also worked for the Falcons, so he thought that was a really good picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and this next one, although this is much later, this is in 2012, is called Go Chargers.
Right. Now Mike is the, he's the head football coach at Centennial High School, and we've been here since 97. And so this picture, you know, it's taken by Holly Hart. She worked for the News Gazette, and she works at the high school also with Mike, and she's taken a lot of nice pictures. So I worked on that on and on. It's a pretty luscious picture painting. Yeah.
Definitely.
So
Okay, we're going to take a moment now to move downstairs to see some of the works that Barbara has in her home.
now you see, here's a good example of something I grew up with. It's really a fabulous thing. This is a Japanese. It's a diptych. It folds. It's over 300 years old, and it belonged to my great uncle Will McKinley. So my father collected these wonderful maps and clocks, and Mother had these great things from her own family. So. And then it turned out I was able to do this fine work duplicating photographs, and then I was able to do these portraits of Mom and Dad, and this is my mother Mary. It's a pastel, and most people admire that. It depends on the lighting. It can be very good or it can look flat. Pastel's the way I draw it, it seems to do that sometimes.
Well, it's very realistic, very lifelike.
Very, yeah, and the design is good, but that I sort of lucked out with what I was able to use as a model. She was 80 years old in that, so she took us on a cruise, and I did her portrait. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Okay, let's move into the dining room.
This room I like because my paintings are sitting on this piano as a kind of a still life. Part of this whole setup as of a still life. I have these wonderful paper mache angels from holding instruments, and they're from Florence, I think. And then I have this great little Chinese ancestor chest that the Chinese used to use this and worship their ancestors. They'd burn incense. And then I had these great little paintings on wood. Mike made these, and they're part of, this one is part of a triptych, but I separated it and I use it. I just like it. They're light and they're kind of intriguing in front of this dark olive that I have on the walls. I like the idea of scale in these two because they're depicting something that's quite vast, and they're quite small, and they're also delicate. That works pretty well after showing the fine little work that I did of the portraits. So there it is again.
Okay, and then we have another one here. This is Taos Camisa.
Yeah, it's Taos. It's in Taos, New Mexico, and my friend Bob Ellis, I was able to use his painting studio in Taos. And I think the word, it's a plant, that's chamisa. It's a yellow bush that grows out. So anyway, I like the work a lot, and I like behind it that I have this great virgin, Mexican, again, that my parents brought back from Mexico. She's, you know, right out of a church. So I just like the atmosphere. It's sort of I think mystical would be the right word.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think I've picked that up just all along. It's just part of my life for sure. This also is a triptych. It's a lot larger than the small panels that I showed you in the music room, but this is divided. It's in the tradition of Asian art. It will not fold in on itself, which is too bad in a way. I'd like to get hinges made on the backs of some of these works so that I could fold them in the way I like that sense. It becomes an entity, and anyway. So this is corn. My dog Pixie and I walk in the field. We used to walk in the field. She has terrible arthritis. We can't walk anymore. But we loved walking in the fields, and so I have a great view of this Savoy countryside outside my little studio upstairs. And so I was painting also on these small pieces because I don't have any room, and I didn't have a big studio. I now have rented a studio on High Cross Road, and I'm able to do something that's a good size. And I'm trying to change scale at this point, which is a whole new thing for me because I've been working in that tiny studio for quite a few years now. But so it's been exciting, and I feel like maybe the sense of abstract, something more expressionistic, something more abstract, but I'll see if I can do it. It's something that I like working on the black, and I like the sense of being right in with the plants. There was a book when I was a child that I read called The Green Child, which was about this woman who lived within a tree, and I like that sense. So anyway, so
Yeah, so this is like being within the corn.
Yeah, the corn maiden.
Yeah.
New Mexico, they have the corn maiden. The Navajo, they have wonderful legends and stories, and one of their important ones is about the corn maiden. But
Yeah.
so that's it. I think. What, was I going to say anything else about scale? I don't know. Well, it's interesting. The closer I am to this picture, the larger it is. So as opposed to the largeness of the view, I've completely shrunk. It's sort of backwards in a way.
Yeah. We're back in Barbara's studio now. In 1997, you moved to Savoy, and you started painting landscapes of this area. And in fact, unfortunately, we can't quite see it, but if you look right through her window here, you can see a field from her studio. We're going to look now at a few of your landscapes. This first one is Blue Savoy.
Blue Savoy, and I talked about this in the music room. It is blue because I had just come back from Michigan around Traverse City, and everything is so blue up there. And I came back and felt really happy and was able to do this lovely little landscape that has wax and a painting medium called, I think I mixed that with the Gamblin Galkid, and it went easily, and it's very nice. And again, it's just the bigness of a landscape, a vastness shrunken down, and it works.
Yeah, it does. Okay, this next one is Apricot Savoy. This is a bit larger. Yeah,
it's a little larger, but not really. The panels are about the same, and it gives the impression of being a space. It's a diptych. I would call that a diptych. And again, I use a wax medium, and it's really a successful little painting in a bedroom here.
Yeah. This is Maxwell Barn.
I like this property where we are now because it was across from this, it's still across from the fields, belonged to the University of Illinois, and they do research there, but it was the old Maxwell farm, and they had a beautiful dairy barn, and that's just a portion of that dairy barn, and they tore it down. But I also at this time was I was taking care of a cousin who had the Alzheimer's, and she had just died, I think, and I was working on this. And this has to do with aloneness and missing something. And I think it's a successful little nice country picture.
Okay, this next one is Dog Walk.
That has a lot of wax in it, and it took a long time to build that surface up. It's it could be Mike and me, a combination of us in that little male figure, and then our dog Pixie. She's a pretty German Shepherd. She's 11 now, so she's got that terrible arthritis, but we really have enjoyed those fields, and that's what I showed this at Amara Yoga Studio, and it looks so pretty. I felt so proud of it. It looks so really nice in that studio of theirs.
Yeah. Okay, this next one is autumn. This is
Autumn,
beautiful.
Thank you. Again, that's the Maxwell Farm, and the university put a lot of discarded objects out in the field, and I just took advantage of it. It's not necessarily my thing, but I really like seeing the big old oil drums and the old beat up old truck. It was sort of fun underneath that, you know.
Yeah. Okay, this is Sunset Savoy.
I had fun with the gold, you know. I think having the gold, that Japanese screen, has influenced my work somewhat, and so I sort of went through a phase of doing gold, and that, you know, as the sun sets, it does different things, and one of the things it can do is make everything look gold. So I just kind of kept playing with the paint, and it's not so, it's like 12 by 12. It's not so small.
Yeah. Next one is Wet Savoy.
That's part of a diptych, and I sold that to Carolyn Baxley at the Cinema Gallery. Sold that, and it really was lovely. A friend died, and I was inspired to finish that picture. I was able to get the sky just right, and a lot of this is about loss, is looking out and having that stretch into eternity. That's what I think of expanse, and our lives, you know, just go, who knows where they go,
right,
or if they do, but
right.
I guess I feel that they extend, so that I keep using that as a vehicle for that emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Horizontal Maze.
I like that now because they have the Magritte show going on at the Art Institute. I'm dying to get up to see it, and I think Mike and I have really enjoyed this picture. It didn't take too long to paint. I started in my new studio last fall, and it took not very long. A lot of my paintings can really go on a long time, but this one I got pretty immediately. And my friend Bob Ellis was talking about corn and space, and another fellow here who's a great photographer. I'm blanking on his name. He taught photography at the university, and he did those great landscapes with the simple, small. Well, anyway.
Oh, yeah, I think I know.
Oh, you do.
I'm blanking
He's
too,
very
but yeah.
famous, and his work is at the Art Institute also.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So that he was an influence, but I like this because it's sort of mysterious. You cut through this corn, and you know there are the clouds, and you're not sure what's going on or how much space there is, and I think it's successful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the next two we're going to look at are triptychs.
Yeah.
This is ear triptych.
Yeah. Yeah, ears. Ears kind of a play on words. Lawrence McGowan thought of ear triptych, and I thought he had a good idea on that, so we included that. Lawrence did the photos of my paintings, and these are done on insulation board, and I paint the background with the black gesso, and then that's the closest, you know, it's just part of getting closer and closer into the corn, and I don't know that you can look at corn as phallic, but maybe you can, but anyway, there I am in the corn, and I think corn it's a monopod. That's what I learned. It comes from a single seed up, and we're surrounded by it. You know, we just acres, vast sea of corn, and, and so there it is. You know.
Right. Okay. This next one is the 2 miles. It's a triptych.
And I used one of those paintings downstairs on the piano. I like taking, you know, that game with it that they play, putting the bean underneath a box, you know, you move them around.
Right.
You could do that with those. They're like little boxes, these paintings, and so I'm using the idea of the corn and the fields as water. I spent a lot of time in San Francisco as water, and I came, you know, the prairie schooners and the idea of this landscape as a sea.
Yeah. And
so that's what I've done here, and then I included a picture of 2 males in the water, so with the boat, and So I call it the 2 miles. Miles could be their name, you know.
Ah,
But it's
yeah.
miles
Yeah.
as space, but also and then it's very manageable because they're so small. You can deal with it. You can manipulate it how you want, as opposed to a big, vast, big painting or whatever. So
Right.
anyway, it's a child's kind of a glimpse in a way of
Yeah.
to maturity.
Mhm.
I don't know, but.
Okay, the next two landscapes we're going to look at are in a much different style. Can you talk a little bit more about this? This first one is crows.
I work the Monday evening drawing class. We have a live model, and the longest pose is 20 minutes. So it got me started on something quick drawing, and it's charcoal, and it's instead of the long study, it's really quick, and it's again like the horizontal maze.
Mm-hmm.
It's that same horizontal sense in walking through space and having the idea of something other possibly going on. And of course, there are always crows, and I love birds. And finally, I got some more birds in pictures. So that's and I think it. Again, it's sort of like an illustration. I've been taking the New Yorker study group, and I've enjoyed. I just really love the New Yorkers, so I kind of like that sense of graphics somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and this
So-
one is fish corn.
And that really is different. It's more decorative. I see that as a fish, scales. Again, that goes back to the sense of corn, and the landscape is water and moving through it in space and time. And
Yeah.
so, and I really had fun putting those bright colors in it. So, and that it's a design. I like that. And that really does change it from those flat landscapes.
Right.
But the sense, in some respects, is the same, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway. So
Okay, and then the last few years you've also done some figurative work. This first one is Picasso's Friend. And you were just showing me, it's very small actually, it's about this big.
Yeah, you think it's big, but it's not. It's just, I did that I had come back from seeing a Picasso show in San Francisco. I think I did it about 4 years ago. And I was, I'd been to New York in the early summer, and then I'd gone out to San Francisco, and I'd taken a class in ink, study with ink at this great little school there. And so then I went back to San Francisco, saw the Picasso show, and I just zipped that out in it was less than 20 minutes, and it's just, I think it's so successful. It's just a nifty little funny lady, bird lady.
And we have just a couple minutes here, so we'll look at Director's Chair.
It's pastel. Again, I did that at Monday evening live drawing, probably 20 minutes, and I think she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is a sepia nude.
Right, and again, I think I did that at the New York ink class, but I thought she was beautiful too.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. This has been a great interview.
Thank you.
Our guest today has been painter Barbara Curtis McDonnell. You can see her work at the Cinema Gallery in downtown Urbana and on the gallery's website. You also can see her pieces at Centennial High School in Champaign, the Colonial Manor Nursing Home in Danville, and the DeWitt County Museum and the Dorothy D. Warner Business Center in Clinton. We hope you have enjoyed today's show, and we also hope it will inspire you to explore the local art scene and to make your own art now.